Welcome to the Bringing the Human Back to Human Resources podcast. I'm Traci Chernoff, and I've spent my entire professional career in HR. Each week, we'll explore the delicate balance between people and business with the aim to reconnect the two and create meaningful outcomes. Listen in as I share my own experiences, challenge the status quo, and chat with guests from various industries about our mission to bring the human back to human resources. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here for another week. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're catching this episode. And if you're watching this episode on YouTube or Spotify, then you might have noticed that I am in a different space again. And that is because I'm finally in my own home office and I'm recording at the end of September, and this episode is coming out toward the end of November. So I'll have been here for a while, which is really nice. It's nice to not have to travel room to room, space to space with all my podcasting equipment. And I've got all the space that I need, which is really nice. Anyway, before I get into this week's very exciting episode, if you ask me, I want to let you know that this is the last episode of 2023. But don't worry, there is a new episode waiting for you on the other side of the new year. The first Tuesday in January, just like every Tuesday, you can expect an episode to launch. So that first episode is going to be amazing. And just like I did last year, I'm taking this time as a break, and I'll probably do this for the rest of eternity as long as I have my podcast, because it is kind of nice to have the like holiday season and the winter, so to speak, off to reset just like everybody else. So I'm really glad that I'm doing that again this year. Now, what you'll see and expect in the beginning of 2024 is a little bit connected to what I'm going to share with you on this week's episode. Now, I just want to preface by saying I don't like to keep secrets, but I have been keeping quite the secret from all of you, and that is that I am pregnant. And at the time of this recording, I'm almost 32 weeks pregnant. So I've been keeping this secret for quite some time. And it's not because I want to keep things from you. It is because I'm Jewish and we're superstitious. And I also, it's just like being pregnant and giving birth and all of that stuff. It's like a lot. Right. And so I didn't really want to share so quickly any details around, this personal side of my life. But what I will share is a little bit more now that the cat's out of the bag, which I'm really excited to finally be able to tell all of you listeners, because so many of you have been here for so long and you've heard different topics or episodes, I should say, covering this topic, many of which have been recorded while I've been pregnant. So this episode is actually coming out after my due date. So, which is also intentional because I don't, my fingers are crossed, like God willing, everything goes according to plan. But, I intentionally wanted this episode to come out a couple weeks after my due date so that, it's kind of just in line with my superstitious nature, That said, there's an additional surprise to this news, which is that I am pregnant with twins. And that was quite the shock for me and my husband. We do not have twins in the family. And it's very rare to have spontaneous twins, but we are super excited that we are blessed with the rarity and get to, bring two lives, God willing, hopefully, into the world. So very excited about that. We know that they're both girls. We do not know if they're identical or fraternal. We will find out. And if you will find out once they're born. And if you are curious to find out along with me, definitely make sure you follow me on Instagram at HR Traci, because I probably will share a little bit more there at some point. And for those of you who already follow me, you might have actually noticed that in these last few months, I haven't been super active, and it's kind of just because I'm like mentally preparing for my life completely changing. So I'm just super excited. I'm really excited that I get to tell you. I don't feel nervous, which maybe that should make me nervous. Like, should I feel nervous? Maybe. I don't know. I've always wanted to be a mom. here's a little bit more personal information, right? So I was, we were super excited when we found out that we, were going to be parents. But aside from that, it's also like I was just speaking with someone at work who just graduated college, and I was sharing with her that it's just so amazing to be in a position where, now I'm, in my early 30s, and I look back on life, because we were talking about her life and how she's like, figuring it out, and has like, no idea where she's going to live in the next few months because we work remotely, and she has all this flexibility. And it was like this amazing conversation. And I was like, I didn't realize this in my 20s, but you have all of these phases of life that you go through, that you once you get to a certain point in your life, you realize how exciting those phases of life are. Like you go from high school to then college, and then you work your first job, or you become like you start to develop your career, I should say, or you become like an employee who then like climbs the ladder proverbially. And then, for those of us who want to become parents or can become parents, we then that's like the next phase of life. You get married, whatever. And it's just really cool to like have that moment to reflect. So, um, yeah, I think the thing that I am most nervous about is probably having two at one time, but I'm not the first person to have twins, so I'll figure it out. If your company is remote or hybrid, then you know just how difficult it can be to grow your company's culture beyond a pre-scheduled Zoom happy hour or occasional lunch and learn. Well, this week's sponsor is here to solve that. They're called CultureBot. CultureBot has devised what will likely become the gold standard for growing and blossoming a company culture inside of Slack. The app is like a sidekick for any HR or people professional, automating a lot of the mundane tasks you probably are forgetting to do on a daily basis. Things like birthday and work anniversary celebrations, team shoutouts and kudos, employee introductions, and remote games. It even has health and wellness tips and conversation starters. If that piques your interest, this will get you even more excited. Today, I'm able to share a special promotion for listeners of the podcast. You can get your first 6 months of CultureBot for 50% off. Plus, if your team is under 25 employees, CultureBot is free forever. So if you're looking for a way to create a culture of appreciation and drive increased engagement and togetherness across your team, I definitely recommend checking out CultureBot. Go to getculturebot.com/humanhr. That's getculturebot.com/humanhr to get the offer. Plus, I've added the link in the show notes so you can just click right there. Now, let's get back to the podcast. That said, what I wanted to talk about related to this, as far as how 2024 will look, is that in 2024, in the beginning of the year, while I'm out on maternity leave, you'll see that there are going to be some replay episodes. So we're calling it a replay series. And essentially, every other episode is going to be a replay of like the top episodes in all of the podcast's history. So the first episode of January is a guest episode. It's fresh. It was recorded in the last couple of months. And then the episode after that is going to be, again, this replay series. So you'll hear a different intro, you'll see different graphics. And the idea is that, I'm really committed to this podcast. I'm really excited about entering this new phase of life with all of you, and taking the podcast along with me on that journey. And to do that, I front loaded a ton of these episodes so that you are getting fresh content while I am out on maternity leave. But then there's also this kind of replay back to the episodes that really impacted you the most. I mean, I think it's probably like 10 or so episodes that are going to be replayed, are like numbers 1 through 10 in terms of their popularity for all of you as listeners. And so that tells me that these are episodes that really resonated with you, between the content, the guest, whatever the subject matter was. So, I think especially for those of you who maybe haven't heard all of the episodes because maybe you're new here, or maybe you started in the middle, or you just scanned and looked for a topic that was really interesting to you. This is a great way to kind of get some I don't know, new eyes on those episodes, and refresh what we already have talked about. And what's really interesting is like I haven't or I had not, I should say, listened back to any of these older episodes, but it was really kind of nostalgic because the podcast is going on to its fourth year, right? October 2020 to 2021, 22, 22 to 23. Yeah, so it's going on to its fourth year. So October 2023 is the 3-year mark of the podcast. And so going into the fourth year, it's just, I don't even know where the time went. I have no idea how I've been doing this for almost 3 years. But when I think about like how I had to listen back to those episodes and kind of redo them a little bit to give you a new intro and make sure that it's, the content is really where we want it to be. It was kind of nice. It was nostalgic, like I said, but also a very sweet moment because it kind of allowed me to realize how far the podcast has come. So I just want to thank all of you for being here, for giving me the opportunity to record these episodes for you and to let you in on my own personal journey now through motherhood. So it should be really interesting. And, when I think about how life will likely change, I don't really know how that will impact like my podcast or work or anything like that. But, I'm like, I don't know who I am without my work. And so I'm really excited to be a working mother and to have the opportunity to actually experience what so many of my guests have talked about in terms of being a working parent and having to juggle all of that. And hopefully it'll provide some really helpful anecdotal data for all of you, whether you're parents or not, or want to be parents or not. But I think it should be interesting. And I expect and I plan to be very transparent about the challenges in going back to work and being a working parent and what that all looks and feels like. So I think the first episode that I will record when I come back is scheduled for April or so. So it might seem like really far away, but I promise you it's not that far away. And again, there are going to be, and there are guest episodes in between those replay episodes. So you'll still hopefully feel the freshness of the content that I've planned for you. And I hope that you can appreciate that I am taking the time to enjoy and appreciate this experience, which is totally new for me, while also prioritizing getting you all the content that I want you to get and the experience that I want you to have when you come to my podcast to learn something new, to experience something new. That said, I also want to mention that for my career services, which many of you have reached out about, I do plan to kind of still stay on top of those, but I don't exactly know yet how long my maternity leave from that side of my business will be. So continue to reach out to contact@hrtraci.com and just be prepared for potentially a delay in reply. But I do hope and expect to be able to work with all of you who might need some career support either while I'm on maternity leave or soon thereafter. That said, I think that is about all I have for you this week. I am so appreciative that you all have given me this safe space to share this personal information with you. I'm really excited for this next chapter in my life and to see how it all kind of blends together between what I do as a mom, what I do as a working person, working parent, and what I do within, the realm of my podcast. And I would really, really love if you do follow me on Instagram to hear your thoughts and see if there are any topics that you want me to prioritize for 2024. Please feel free to let me know. I'm sure that I will have a long list of ideas since I won't be recording until like March or so. And so I would love to hear from you to understand what it is that you want to hear more on or you want me to touch on. And again, if you do follow me on Instagram at HR Traci, you will likely receive some updates as I'm going through maternity leave. We'll see. It's not a promise, but I'm sure that I'm going to want to stay connected with all of you. And in the meantime, you will still see posts on my Instagram because my assistant, who literally has enabled me to take a maternity leave from my podcast. So, Julia, I really appreciate you. You are keeping the lights on and helping me in more ways than you can even imagine. So, that said, she will make sure that you are continuously getting the content that you need, and information from about the guests and stuff to interact with on Instagram while I'm out. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Thank you all again. I hope you have an amazing end of 2023, an amazing holiday season, and I look forward to chatting in 2024. Have a fabulous, fabulous end of year, and we hopefully will be welcoming 2 new little ladies to the world by the time this episode comes out. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll speak with you soon. Just before you go, don't forget to subscribe to this show so that you are the first to hear when an episode drops each week. And maybe leave a 5-star review and a comment about how much you loved this episode. Plus, if you have someone in mind who would really enjoy this episode, make sure you share it with them. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next week.